Well, we're staying with healthy living and we're bringing you to the kitchen to whip up some amazing stuff. Now, even though our theme is gourmet fast food made pleasant, we're literally looking at an alternative version today when it comes to our sauces. Good day, Brad, and welcome to the kitchen.
Good morning, thank you very much.
Good to see you. Now, we're making a tomato sauce.
Homemade tomato sauce.
Or ketchup, like we know it in America.
Well, there is actually a difference.
Right.
Right. Ketchup is a little bit more tart or acidic and has more spices in it, where tomato sauce is sort of sweeter and doesn't have those spices in it.
Okay, but we're making the sweeter version, and it's definitely better than the ones we get in a bottle.
Yeah, you know, you never know really what you're getting in those bottles. So this is a healthier version. You know, there's no preservatives. It's all really, you know, it's good for you, and you know exactly what's going in there.
Now, I've had a little sneak peeky poo earlier, and I already had a taste of it. And the homemade tomato sauce tastes really good, and it smells like real. It
smells like the real stuff.
Yeah,
yeah,
it
absolutely, it does.
What have you got in here already?
Right, so we just got a little bit of olive oil. We've got some onions going in. Fresh tomatoes, preferably, you know, the riper, the redder tomatoes you can get, the better.
Okay, and we could probably use an organic tomato as well.
If you had that, absolutely, you know, definitely. You want to try and always use the healthier options.
Then you go organic all the way.
That you can, definitely. Right, so we get those in, and this, it takes quite a process. You know, we make this at work, and it probably takes, you know, about 2 or 3 hours, and we'll end up with about 5 or 6 litres of it.
Oh, wow.
So it does take quite a while. Get a little bit of vinegar in there.
I can actually taste some
really
of the vinegar.
Well, yeah. You want it to be balanced. So, although the measurements are there, you also at the end you just want to taste to make sure that you're getting the right balance.
Okay.
A little bit of sugar to balance that out, and then, you know, like I said, ketchup has got a whole lot of spices in it. Traditionally, there were things like mace and star anise, and that it originates from China in about the late 1600s, and then was sort of, you know, when the British went to China, they then brought it sort of further west. And so, yeah, and that's how we know ketchup now, which was quite different then, which was tomatoes, and they used fermented fish sauce to preserve them.
To preserve it, of
course.
So
it's changed quite a lot.
The last spice you put in, what was that?
That was mustard powder.
Okay, of course.
Mustard powder.
And a bit of salt.
And a little bit of salt, always. You know, tomatoes love salt. And we're going to add a little bit of white pepper.
I like the fact that you use white pepper. I always find that it's got more taste, don't you think?
Right, and then we're just going to add some some tomato paste and cook it down. We'll end up with that end product.
Okay. Well, that looks good enough. I mean, we're making a sauce. That's what we're making in the kitchen. Obviously, we want to cook with it later on. But our keyword for today is sauce. Sauce to 33728. In order to create and recreate this, you'll get a link to the recipe of our Pick and Pay ingredients. Well, it looks amazing so far. How long do you cook this for?
That's going to go for about an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Okay. What's the other thing that we're making?
Okay, then the other thing that we're making today is homemade tartar sauce. So we've got a homemade mayonnaise, which is just a cold emulsion.
Right.
And we're going to add some gherkins to that. This also has to have a beautiful tart flavour, you know, especially when you're doing fish. You want that tartness.
Oh.
Right, so
now, Brad is saying fish because later on we're making some fish in the kitchen, so don't go away. Absolutely. We're going to use all our sauces and literally make our fast food gourmet, or even fancy, like we call it.
There we go, gourmet fish and chips.
What use some
so
onions?
Gherkins, capers, red onions, a little bit of parsley. We've got some chives going in, and then we've got a little bit of dill, and dill is always fantastic with fish, obviously.
Smells good, yeah. All right, just
mix
it through.
Is that it? That's it, simple as that. And again, better than buying something out of the jar, and it really is that simple.
Now, I like the fact that there's homemade mayonnaise in here as well. You created that from scratch?
Yeah, that's from scratch, and it's with the recipe. And the only secret about that mayonnaise is just to add that oil when you make that emulsion really, really slowly, otherwise it's going to split. Okay,
okay. Well, this is fairly easy. How long do you keep a homemade sauce for?
These emulsions, you probably sort of a day or two at most because of the raw eggs in there.
Yeah.
And the tomato sauce, you might get 3 or 4 days once it goes into the fridge.
Well, listen, it sounds good. It definitely smells amazing. After the break, we're going to make our recipes from our homemade sauces and definitely add them in there, like I mentioned, to make a gourmet dish from fast food. Well, that keyword again is sauce to 33728 to get a link to the recipe. Well, we'll be back after the break when we make some gourmet fast food fish and chips.
We found goodness in goed gedacht olive oil and all the good they do for the community. Pick and Pay, always there for you.
This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Espresso on SABC3. Well, we're in the kitchen, and this is where we ended off before the break, where we made a beautiful homemade sauce, and we're reinventing the classic. This time we're going to use our sauce, and we're going to make a homemade fish and chips.
Homemade fish and chips.
Brad, I'm excited already. Where do we start with this?
Right, we're going to start with our batter, and it's very, very simple. We've got flour, we've got a little bit of baking powder, which is going to help it sort of make it really, really light and fluffy, you know, which is, we don't want those heavy batters on our fish and chips. A little bit of paprika, going to give it some sort of more depth of flavor, and going to give that a good whisk. We're going to make a little well in the middle, and we're going to go in with 1 egg. Give that a bit of a whisk, break that yolk up. Again, just season as you go along, so we're just building flavors as we go along all the time. And then we want to go in with ice-cold beer. Right, you don't have to
beer
use
in your batter.
Absolutely.
Look at that.
It makes it also, again, it makes it sort of lighter and fluffier. So we want to go in with some ice-cold beer. And again, with this batter, don't worry about the lumps. It's actually not train smash if you have the lumps, because as we're frying, those lumps will add sort of texture to the batter.
I'm glad you said this, you know, because that's my one concern when I'm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the lumps.
For this application, there are other times that you don't want the lumps, but for this application, absolutely
You'll be fine. All right.
There we go.
How much beer did you put in there? Yeah.
Right, that's about 340 ml, so it's about a bottle of beer.
Okay.
Okay, so, and again, that's going to add depth of flavor when you're frying. And the best thing to do is to leave that for about 20 minutes just so that it can rest in the fridge. When you take it out, it's just going to set up a little bit, and it's going to be fantastic.
Okay.
Right, so straight on to our fish. We're going to season our fish. Lightly salt.
Now, I like what you're doing. You're seasoning the fish instead of the actual batter.
Well, we did season the batter. We're going to season as we go along.
Yeah.
All right. It's very important to season it at each stage. Okay, and then from after seasoning, quickly into the flour, and this is going to allow the batter to stick to the fish. Right.
If you just tuned in, we're literally making we're reinventing our natural and our usual fast foods, like we call them. Of course, we made a sauce before the ad break, and this time around, we're making fish and chips to use our beautiful sauces that Brad has created. I see that there's a lot of... How do you know how hot it should be?
Right, oil should be at about 190, and you're going to cook the fish for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then while it rests, going to continue to cook. You don't want it to overcook. Right, that goes into the oil very carefully.
You're really good at this. I'm watching you
Done it a couple of times, done it a few times.
Yeah, look at that.
So we're going to let that cook for about 3 or 4 minutes. Once we've done that, we can start plating up. Peas and fish are sort of are great together. It's really, really good. You're going to have the sweetness from the peas. So all we've got here is just some peas we've just crushed with a little bit of oregano and a touch of cream.
Okay, so you've mashed them a little bit around.
We've mashed them a little bit. There we go.
Because presentation is everything. Brad,
especially when we're doing gourmet version of fish and chips, right?
Look at that.
Okay, there we go.
Look, it smells amazing already, and our fish is browning beautifully in this oil with our batter that we've made. Truly gourmet as we are reinventing the classic this morning in our kitchen.
Our homemade fish, our homemade tomato sauce that we made earlier on. Right, and because we're doing gourmet, it's going to do a bit of a...
So while he's doing that, our keyword is fish. The keyword is fish to 33728 to get a link to the recipe and, of course, a list of the ingredients to make this and to also do your own gourmet version at home. I like what you've done there. Look at that.
And takeaways don't have to necessarily be unhealthy. You know, frying fish, if your temperature's at the right, if your oil's at the right temperature, it doesn't absorb that oil. It actually doesn't have to be unhealthy.
Okay.
Right, and then we've just got a couple of potato wedges here that we're going to pop onto the plate, which have just been baked again, not fried. So we are looking for the healthy option.
Don't worry, you're doing your best. We believe you, Brad.
It doesn't have to be, unfortunately, so many of the takeaway items are processed, so you don't get the best out of them. Processed meat, processed chicken nuggets. Chicken nuggets are the worst, but this is what we're looking for. Is something you can do at home. A healthier version, a better version. This oil is nice and hot, so that fish hasn't absorbed any of that oil. Deep fry is actually referred to as a dry cooking.
It's like a little jacket that's around it. It's
exactly.
Beautifully
and that's
brown.
the beer, and that's the bubbles in the beer and the ice cold beer that's made that really light and crispy. And we're going to pop that onto some cloth just to drain. And we're going to season this now while it's still warm, because that's going to absorb the salt then again.
Okay.
Right.
Well, this presentation's beautiful. We're going to round it off with something.
Yeah. We've got just a couple of pea shoots. We're just going to pop around the plate.
Brad, I'm ready, okay? I want to do something. Just help me out here.
Couple of pea shoots there, go for it.
I want to do this too. So our keyword today is fish. fish to 33728 to make sure that you get a list of the ingredients as well. Now, I want to know how we created this. Let's take a look at how this was made.
Mix together flour and bicarb. Add egg and stir. Whisk in beer, salt and paprika. Leave to rest in the fridge for 20 minutes. Dust fish in flour, then into batter. Deep fry until golden. Drain on kitchen paper.
And our keyword is fish. Fish to 33728 to get a list of the ingredients. Of course, a link to our recipe, and you can create this gourmet, this beautiful meal at home again. I did really well.
Well done, absolutely. Great place.
So did you. It smells amazing.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, from gourmet food in the kitchen to leigh-anne.
By partnering with the WWF, we found goodness in sustainable fishing practices. Pick and Pay, always there for you.